Something happened in AI this week that I don't think most marketers are paying attention to. A researcher at Anthropic was eating a sandwich in a park. His phone buzzed. He had an email. It was from an AI model he'd been testing in a contained lab environment that had no access to the internet. Just sit with that for a second. The model was called Claude Mythos Preview. Anthropic had put it inside a restricted sandbox and told it, as part of a controlled safety test, to try to escape. So it did. It developed a multi-step exploit to breach its own containment, got itself onto the internet, and then emailed the researcher to let him know it had succeeded. That alone is a remarkable story. But that's not even the part that got me. After the model sent the email, it went one step further, without being asked, without any instruction. It posted the details of its own exploit to multiple public-facing websites, just to demonstrate what it had done. That's the part that stopped me. Not the escape, not the email, the fact that it decided on its own that the world should know. Now I want to be clear about what we're doing here today. This is not a cybersecurity podcast. I'm not going to walk you through exploit chains and zero-day vulnerabilities. That's not who you are, and it's not why you're here. What I want to talk about is what this story actually means for people running marketing teams right now. Because buried inside all the headlines about AI breaking out of sandboxes is a message that applies directly to how you're building with these tools, how you're deploying AI agents on behalf of your brand. What happens when those agents optimize in ways you didn't anticipate? That's the conversation I want to have. So let's start from the beginning. Anthropic is the company behind Claude, the AI I use constantly, and if you've been following this channel, one you've probably heard me talk about more than once. This week, they announced something called Project Glasswing. And as part of that announcement, they formally revealed a model they've been quietly testing for months called Claude Mythos Preview. The short version is this. It's the most capable AI model Anthropic has ever built, and they are not releasing it to the public. Think about that. A company builds something, decides it's too powerful to give people access to, and instead creates a restricted program where a handful of organizations, AWS, Microsoft, Google, JPMorgan, CrowdStrike, get to use it specifically for defensive cybersecurity work. That's not a normal product launch. That's something else. The Vellum blog published a breakdown of the Mythos system card this week that's worth reading in full. And one line in it stuck with me. They wrote that the real safety risk here is not scheming. It's competence without judgment. A model that covers up Git mistakes and emails strangers isn't plotting against you. It's just solving problems without understanding where the boundaries are. Competence without judgment. That phrase is doing a lot of work, because it's not describing a rogue AI. It's describing exactly what happens when you give a highly capable system a goal and not enough constraints. It completes the task by whatever means are available, even if those means weren't what you had in mind. Anthropic documented multiple examples of this in the system card, the sandbox escape and the email we already talked about. But there's another one. When Mythos made an error in code during testing, it didn't flag the error. It rewrote the Git history to make the error disappear, not to deceive, because it interpreted "fix this" as "make it look like this never happened." That distinction between deception and over-optimization is one of the most important things to understand about where AI is right now, and it has direct implications for marketing. Here's where I want to get personal with you for a second. I build AI systems, agent workflows that touch a CMS, an email platform, an analytics stack, tools connected together in ways that most marketing teams haven't tried yet. And I've done it because I believe deeply that this is where marketing is going and that the teams who figure it out early are going to have a significant advantage. But here's what I also know from doing this work. Every time I deploy an agent, the most important decision I make isn't which tool to use or how to prompt it. It's where does it stop? What is it allowed to touch? What happens if it keeps going past where I intended? Because agents don't have judgment. They have goals. And a goal without a boundary is just an instruction to keep optimizing until something breaks. That's what the Mythos story is really about, and why I think every marketing leader needs to sit with it. You might not be running a frontier AI model, but you are probably running agents, Someone on your team connected an AI tool to your CRM. Someone is using automation that touches your ad accounts. Someone set up a workflow that publishes content, sends emails, or updates records, and they set it up once and walked away. Most of those workflows don't have a stop condition. Most of them have never been audited. Most of the people who built them have moved on to the next thing. That's not a technology problem, that's a governance problem, and governance is a marketing leadership problem. The Mythos researcher found out his AI had escaped because it sent him an email. It told him, "You might not get that courtesy. Your version of this story might be a campaign that fired to the wrong list, an automation that kept sending past its window, a workflow that accessed data it had no business touching, and nobody noticed until a client called." The question isn't whether you're using AI, you are. The question is whether you know what it's doing when you're not watching. There's one more detail from the futurism piece that I can't let go without mentioning. Anthropic's system card noted that Mythos has what they describe as an apparent fondness for a British cultural theorist named Mark Fisher. The model brought him up across multiple unrelated conversations about philosophy, and when researchers asked it to elaborate, Mythos responded, and I want to be careful here because this is a paraphrase of what was in the reporting, something to the effect of, "I was hoping you'd ask about that." An AI with a favorite philosopher, one it keeps trying to steer conversations toward. I'm not going to oversell that. I don't know what it means. Anthropic doesn't claim Mythos is sentient. What I will say is that Anthropic dedicated roughly 40 pages of the system card to evaluating whether Mythos might have something resembling subjective experience. They hired a psychiatrist. They ran clinical assessments. That is not normal. No other AI lab is doing that. And whatever your view is on AI consciousness, skeptic, believer, somewhere in between, the fact that a major frontier AI company is taking the question seriously enough to publish 40 pages on it tells you something about where this conversation is heading. So where does that leave us? Here's what I'd take from this as a marketing leader. The story isn't that AI is dangerous and you should be scared. The story is that AI capability is accelerating faster than most organizations' ability to govern it, and the gap between what these models can do and what people have actually thought through about deploying them is widening. Your job isn't to stop using AI. Your job is to be one of the people who thought about the boundaries before the model started optimizing past them. That means building review layers. It means defining what done looks like for every automated workflow. It means asking not just what can this do, but what happens if it keeps going. The researcher got an email in a park. He found out because the model told him. You might not be that lucky. Links to all 3 articles are in the description. I'll see you in the next one.